Oh, big crash front straightaway. Huge crash coming into the triangle. No, Rocky up and into the air.
They're beating and banging. Burn the bottom, Cosman up top.
Cosman, I think. No, Breyer by 1/1000th of a second. Joseph, no! At the line, Thunhorse pulls the win out at the stripe. Oh, he saves it. What's going to happen here? Here comes the canvas. Get your foot there. He's got it. He's got it. Canvas is going to win. The eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series makes the return to the Irish Hills of Michigan in 2022. The last time we were here was back in 2020. Took a year off from the schedule, but it's back and better than ever. We're sticking with 4 corners the rest of the season after we got Mid-Ohio and Pocono out of the way. It's just ovals, although they may not be entirely normal the rest of the way going through. We've got 4 turns, and that's the important part as we continue to try and cut the field down. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to FTF.GG's live coverage of race number 3 of the second round of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series season. We're live at the virtual Michigan International Speedway from Brooklyn, Michigan. Glad to have you along for the ride, everybody. Jacob Pitts, James Pike, Caleb Hoffman will join us in a bit. Justin Melillo down on pit road. And James, obviously, we can't compare this to the Coke Series since they were off at the Chicago Street Course with the All-Star race. But I know we talked about it before we came on the air that the Coke Series here at Michigan, it's had some pretty exciting races.
The last 2 seasons the Coke Series was here in 2020 and 2021. We had arguably the best 2 finishes of those respective seasons at this racetrack. The trucks will race a little bit differently than the Gen 6 Cup cars did. A little bit lower top speed, and I think the draft is going to matter even more with these trucks than it did with the Cup cars. But this is just a really, really good track in sim that puts on a lot of really, really good races. I have a feeling tonight will not be any exception.
Now, no PJ1, no resin in the sim, so you pretty much get what you got. Not a lot of lanes here at Michigan. You kind of get the middle of the racetrack, the very bottom, the very top. They're kind of sort of off limits, at least early in a run. You might be able to race them in, though.
You could. But I think you're going to see everybody take advantage of the space on restarts in particular. This is a place where you can go 4, 5. I think I've seen 6 wide at some points here. It's crazy big. It's crazy wide. You have tons of room to race. The question is, where do you want to find your apex? And what apexes in these sets of corners will ultimately give you the fastest lap times?
Qualifying going on right now as we speak. Just wrapping up, getting in the last couple of moments of qualifying as we get set to set the grid for tonight's race. Obviously, strategy, James, going to be, I would say, a pretty decent part for tonight. Maybe not quite as much as what we saw at Pocono 2 weeks ago, where we were very reliant on strategy until we had cautions kind of fall the driver's way, where it took it out of their hands. Tonight, strategy going to be a factor.
To some degree, especially I think if we get a yellow flag, and I'll be curious to hear reports from Justin Melillo on what he thinks of this, but I'd say under green flag, probably a one-stop race, but if we get yellows and people start coming in to take tires and they start bumping up against their tire limits, that's where this could get really interesting. So I think it plays either one of 2 ways. Either we go very clean, very green, not really too much to deal with, or a lot of yellows at the end could make for a really, really wild finish.
Let's take a look at our starting grid tonight here from Michigan, and I'm far behind. I don't even have ATVO up. So here we go. It's Christopher Hill on the front row. Blaze Crawford sits in the second spot. Ryan Doucette and Dalton Collins will make up row number 2. Joey Brown, he has plagued me for weeks on end now. He won at Charlotte to end round 1. I didn't think, based off of what we had, that he was going to make it Well, he did, and he has been in every single race that we've covered since. He lines up 5th. Nathan Jurgensen lines up on the outside. Timmy Holmes and Eddie Kerner in row number 4. Then it's Daniel Smallwood and Jared Torres topping our top 10.
Michael Cozy Jr. out of Hagerstown, Maryland, starts on the inside of row 6 for Logitech Altus Esports. Daniel Buttafuoco, who's been on a tear in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series this season, will start to his side. Andrew Navarro rolls off the 13th spot. 14th will be Joel Blewett. Jordy Lopez Jr., another Logitech Altus Esports driver, starting in the 15th spot. 16th to Boyd Hogan, Wyatt Tinsley, and Christopher Pfeffer starting 17th and 18th. James Wenzel rolls off from the 19th spot. 20th on the grid belongs to Timmy Pacioli.
Johnny Avila will start in the 21st position. Daniel Nanny lines up on the outside. Then it's Blake Bottoms and Thomas Keene. Alex Bergeron and Ethan Lane round out 25th and 26th. Then Connor Horn, Joseph Galata, Jake Nichols, Omar Diallo. Diallo did not grid. He's supposed to be lining up in 30th. Shane Williamson, Brian Blackford rounding out our field of 32 tonight. The even split with 33 participants, a total 65 drivers registered to race tonight. Before we get the green flag, late breaking stories from pit road. Here's Justin Malillo.
Thank you, Jacob. We've got a pretty straightforward race ahead of us. That is if they go caution-free. The fuel mileage for tonight is going to be around 35 to 40 laps, and they're doing 70. So if it goes green, we should see pretty straightforward, anywhere between 30 and 40. These guys are going to come in, take 4 fresh tires, get back out on track. But this track does lead many to, you know, pack up and race together. This track definitely brings that forward. So we could see some pack racing, we could see some chaos, and we could see some different strategies playing out.
Yes, we'll just have to wait and see. Nice little cliffhanger there to get us going. And Justin will be touching in with you throughout the night. Christopher Hill and Blaze Crawford are on the front row for this, the initial start here from Michigan. 70 laps on the board, 3 sets of tires down on pit road. Should be a lot of fun from the 2-mile oval here in the Irish Hills. It's Hill and Crawford on the front row. Green flag, we're racing from Michigan. Lots of Altus Esports drivers in this field, but it's Christopher Hill out in front. Very Daytona-esque, maybe more like Kansas from round 1, James, as everybody double wide right on that yellow line, and then just above them coming off turn 2.
Yeah, lots of motion there, lots of movement through this pack. Everybody already trying to bounce around and make their moves and get into line, try and fly the draft train early. The sooner you can...
Oh, trouble! Jared Torres around into the outside wall hard, gets collected by the 66 of Christopher Pfeffer, and for Torres, that's 2 weeks in a row, 2 races in a row with major problems early on. Looks like some contact between Torres and Michael Cozy Jr., and Torres has parked the truck. He is done for the night. No fast repairs for these guys. And as far as Torres' season is concerned, he is in major trouble. 50th in points coming in, and we'll get a replay here to see exactly what happened.
It's the downside of being this packed up in these draft packs and this bunched up together, especially on restart. Sometimes you have drivers that'll be looking for different apexes, different lift points, different or release points. And yeah, I think Cozy just didn't expect Torres to stack it up as much as he did. Also, a few trucks behind Torres that ran into him as he slid up the racetrack. But yeah, not a good start to this round two for Jared Torres, who was indeed 50th unofficially in points. And now you're going to have to count the 10 points that he got from Pocono, and he'll get even less tonight. This now becomes his drop. So a bad start already going south for Jared Torres in the second round of the 2022 eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series.
Couple of trucks coming on to pit road. Let's take a look at our points, though, since we did not get a chance to do that before we took the green flag. Joey Brown, he is high atop the points right now. Now, the points that you are seeing right now are without the drop. So what that means basically is the worst race that these guys have as far as points are concerned gets lopped off. So 7 races on the season, we're going to count 6 of those races, the 6 best finishes toward the points, and whoever's the highest in the top 20 will move on, and at 21st on back is out. So what you're seeing here are the points including Mid-Ohio and Pocono. With the drop, it's Boyd Hogan that sits atop with Joey Brown, Jonathan Delaney, and Parker White right in tow. Those are the 4 winners this season. The 2 winners from the odd splits, the 2 winners from the even splits. As we go all the way down through, we already passed the cut line, and you see some names back here. Brian Blackford, he's in our split tonight. Shane Williamson as well. Pacioli in the 86 as well in our split tonight. So a lot of different ends of the spectrum. We've got Joey Brown, who is top in points, and then we got guys that are way downstairs in the basement that are looking for a crucial performance tonight.
Lots of questions to be answered, I think, as we progress through the course of the evening, because you consider that once we clear Michigan, our next race is at Airport Lorp, Indianapolis Raceway Park, and the midway point of that race will be the midway point of round 2 entirely. So beginning, you get to the point where not that anything's certain by that stage, but you start to get a really good sense of who the contenders for those top 20 spots really are going to be, who has a genuine chance of making it to the contender series later on in the fall.
We are doubled up and getting ready for the restart. 1 lap to green. 4 laps are complete. 1 1/3 of them, or 1 2/3 of them, have been under green flag, and we'll get a restart, get us back going under the green flag, and get us back rolling. A really stark contrast to what we saw at Kansas, where everybody was really packed together. We saw those 2 lines forming, and everybody was bottom feeding, even on the straightaway, down against the white line. It's surprising, I guess, how much carryover we're getting from Kansas to here. Notice the size difference of the 2 racetracks, even though they were repaved within 2 years of each other. Not quite as identical as you would think, but these trucks are racing it about the same way.
You just have to watch and keep your eyes peeled and see how things are going to go or not go in that case. Could be nutty, could be wild, could be an adventure. Just really, really hard to get a read, because Michigan races can string out if you get 3, 4, 5 laps of yellow, but you have to get to that point first. And that sounds very self-evident, but this is a place where it almost feels like the chances of that are 50-50, more so than a lot of other places we go to.
Green flag back in the air. We're back rolling here from Michigan. 1 truck peeks out of line, looking 3 wide down on the apron. That is the 13 of Daniel Buttafuoco. Some more shuffling going on at the front. Some drivers dropping to the bottom that were on the high side. Christopher Hill breaking away. Crawford leading the outside line, and the outside line has receded big time. Just a couple of trucks up there.
Yeah, Dalton Collins was the only one that could stick with Ryan Doucette. So now Eddie Kerner's going to get the opportunity to run that high lane. Timmy Holmes is there as well. And then 3 wide back for 8th between Joel Blewett, Nathan Jurgensen, and Daniel Smallwood. And Daniel Buttafuoco working his way down that white Navy truck from JD Laird, the JDR graphics machine down on the inside. Looks like he's the 5th car in line on the bottom as they come back to the strike.
Here comes Doucette. Well, he was, and now he's going to fall back because a huge run on the outside from Hill and Crawford. Doucette was almost there for the lead, couldn't quite get there, didn't have the help from Joey Brown. He now washes up the racetrack, and here comes Eddie Kerner on the inside. They'll be 3 wide for that 5th spot.
big time battle in the back. Meanwhile, front four have started to separate themselves just a bit. Hill, Crawford, Collins, all running that outside lane, all just trying to get the momentum on corner exit. We hammer it home, I think, in this eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. Momentum, 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 and keeping your foot to the floor with these trucks that don't have the highest of top speeds is so crucial, so important. That may not be any more significant than it is tonight, given how fast this place is. It's the fastest track that we go to in this series outside of Daytona and Talladega.
Well, and with Texas at the end of the season, perhaps that will be the only other racetrack that we'll see that will race quite like this the rest of the schedule. IRP, as you mentioned, Indianapolis Raceway Park in 2 weeks' time. Then we go to Darlington. Then we go to Bristol, but it's dirt Bristol. And then we wrap the season up at Texas at the end of September. So really, one more mile and a half, one more short track. Two more short tracks if you count the dirt track, and then you've got Darlington in there, kind of the best of both worlds.
The best of both worlds, you said? Is that the first ever Hannah Montana reference you've made on a stream there, Jacob?
Well, that would be entirely on accident because I have absolutely not watched that show. But if you want to go with it.
You were alive in 2007, therefore you had access to pop culture, therefore I'd say the case is closed.
I did not watch much or any of Disney after I was able to think for my own, I guess. But here comes Joey Brown down on the bottom looking for second with help from Kerner. But Afuco sends it in on the bottom a couple of truck lengths back. He's trying to join the party.
He is, and he's stuck on the bottom trying to find a way in front of Joel Blewett, but Blewett continues to lock up that outside lane. And now if you're Buttafuoco, you're trying to side draft as best you can, but honestly I'm a little bit nervous because everybody around them, save for the folks in front, managed to get into single file. Everybody, especially from about fifth on back, really starting to figure this out. And of course, as soon as I say that, Andrew Navarre looks to the inside of Daniel Smallwood for the last place in the top 10. So maybe I just know nothing at this point.
Well, and maybe some drivers are eager to just get in line and work together. Others maybe going to start to peek out of line and start to move their chess pieces toward the front of the field. That's what some of these guys are trying to do right now on the bottom, this inside line. Even though it's only got 4 trucks in it, it's looking rather strong right now. Joey Brown still stuck side by side with that for Blaze Crawford.
And you would think at most places where you're going a little bit slower, you could pinch somebody on corner exit from the outside, and maybe later we'll see that. But we've got Blaze Crawford running, it was almost a full car width, or truck width, I guess in this case, between Brown and Crawford coming out of turn 4. You see it again. They're staying away from Joey Brown. It's almost as if they're trying to avoid Brown's opportunity to side draft. So Brown's going to take advantage of the space up to his top side and try and slide ahead of Blaze Crawford. But Crawford was able to get just enough of a run on the entry to the back straight to hang off the rear quarter panel of Crawford's machine. And we are still 2 by 2 amongst the top 6, top 7 drivers.
Well, and Blaze not staying in line there. He almost got moved out of the way by Collins that's there. That was very close. And Collins, he drops to the bottom. He says, enough of this. If you can't quite hold your line, then all right, I'm going to go to the bottom and I'm going to try and take the lead. There you see the 66 of Christopher Pfeffer coming back out onto the racetrack. And this lead pack has now fanned out a good bit. Christopher Hill winds up in second now on the outside line, and Eddie Kerner is all alone on the bottom.
I love how you conveniently didn't reference who took the lead there, Jacob Hood. So I'm going to toss it back to you to let the folks know who's in front now.
Yeah, well, I could have sworn that truck was already in front already, and that's why I thought, well, no, it didn't matter. Okay, yeah, Joey Brown took the lead. It was Hill that was leading. Hello, paying attention. So,
no,
Joey Brown.
That's not a paying attention thing. That's we just have to punish you for saying that Joey Brown was out, and now here he is leading yet another race.
Yep.
It speaks to how good he's been in round 2. And remember, this is a driver that has former experience in the Coach Series as well. Not too long ago, he was one of the 40 in that. It's been a while, but he's one of those classic comeback cases, and we've seen a few of those. Alan Bowes made his way back. Nicholas Shelton made his way back in prior seasons of this series, the Contender Series, and that's what Joey Brown's looking to do as well. Make his way back into the top flight. Remind everyone that, yeah, he might have taken a break for a little bit, but he still has it. Still has speed.
And that's some of the joy of the eNASCAR entire franchise, if you will, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, the Contender Series, and the qualifying series that all come together. Just the fact that, you know, you can be slower in the Coke Series, drop out, you know, work on your things a little bit, get that racecraft built up, and the next thing you know, you're back in the qualifying series, working your way through. You can make it to Contender, and you're pushing somebody out of the way to reclaim your spot in the Coke Series.
Potentially. It'll be interesting to see. I think as I look at this class, it feels like, especially coming up from the qualifying series, there are more cases of drivers with experience. Maybe not necessarily so many young prospects who we haven't seen a lot of. Most of the folks that are competing here, I feel like, are known quantities at this point, and there may be
trouble back straightaway. That's Joseph Galata. He saves it. We stay green. He got really sandwiched coming off of turn number 2, racing back here with Connor Horn and Johnny Avila, and just too many trucks fighting for the same piece of real estate, and it's Galata's truck that gets sideways in front of the last half a dozen trucks. He's able to point it in the right direction. A lot of damage on the back end of that 86. Here is the replay. You see that 86 hung right there in the middle.
Amazing that he didn't get clipped by anyone as he went sideways in front of everybody in turn 2. Very impressive, I think, that he managed to keep it together. But for the time being, if you're Galata at this point, you're waiting on a caution because you've lost the draft. You're already back out behind Daniel Nanny's damaged truck. He was one of the ones that got caught up in the incident with Jared Torres, but you're out back of him by 3 seconds, and Nanny is a solid 20 miles an hour slower than you are. So you're just sort of riding around as your Galata for this point.
And Nanny also got a piece of that crash as well coming off turn number 2. So if he didn't have a lot of damage from earlier, certainly has a lot of front end damage now since he was the one that turned that 86. How about Eddie Kerner? He has slid himself into the second position out in front of Christopher Hill, trying to chase down your race leader in Joey Brown.
Kerner has made a nice little charge. He's one of the hardest chargers in the field so far. Started 8th, currently 2nd. Also have to give it on to Andrew Navarre, who's come up to the 6th position after starting in 13th. And Thomas Keene, a little bit further back, started 24th, already up to the 14th position. So some of these drivers figuring out how to work the outside, how to work this draft, just to gain a spot here, gain a spot there, and little by little they start to add up.
Well, and him and Boyd Hogan are going at it over the radio right now. Some hard racing going on back here, and Hogan trying to claw his way through the field. He started in the 16th position, so now he's netted himself a whole 2 spots. Remember, he won a race earlier this season in the other split. So he has a win already. He has a lot of points as is, trying to capitalize on that here today at Michigan. And him and Keeman, I think, had a little disagreement on how they were racing each other. They're side by side once again. Now this is for the 14th spot. You got Wyatt Tinsley back there as well, Ethan Lane. About 6 or 7 trucks in this pack.
You just want those arguments, I think, done now. That's the biggest thing. You really want to try and put that sort of stuff to rest early at a place like this, because when you're traveling so fast, any sort of misstep or mistake that you make towards the end of the race, or any sort of aggression that you show towards someone else, and instantaneously it becomes a much bigger deal because someone's slowing from 180 plus miles an hour and ends up making a bit of a mess of things. So I'd rather try and be diplomatic if I'm in that situation and get it done with now, so that you just go after it at the end and not have to worry about looking over your shoulder and being concerned with whether or not someone's going to take you out and take some points away from your campaign.
How about this 3-wide battle right here? Dalton Collins in the thick of that as well. Holmes and Doucette right on the rear deck of that Dalton Collins machine. This is back here just right around the top 10 or so. Timmy Holmes there in that 67.
Good battle here. Ryan Doucette working to his inside, and he's got Jordi Lopez Jr. with him. For as much as we've talked about the draft already in the opening 20 laps of this race, don't feel like we've talked as much about teammates, and I'll be curious to see what kind of strategy Doucette and Lopez can pull to work together and maybe get around Collins, Blaze Crawford, some of the drivers just ahead of them to claw their way back towards the front.
21 laps are complete. Remember, our fuel window roughly 35 to 40 laps. Now, obviously, we had a caution early, so that might fluctuate that a bit. If people saved under that first caution, they may be able to make it a little past 40 laps on fuel, but that means we're maybe just over halfway through this fuel run, and drivers now have to start getting prepared and at least eyeing up the potential for green flag pit stops.
Certainly do. I wonder what Justin Malillo will have to say on that and what sort of strategies anyone's going to play. But outside of that early yellow, we haven't really had much to talk about down that front. So my guess is if your window is somewhere in the ballpark of 30 to 40, maybe extend to 34 to 45 perhaps. But I mean, you're still in one stop range, I think, for the most.
Oh, Timmy Holmes almost junked it coming off turn 4. He washed up the racetrack in front of Ryan Doucette, and boy, oh boy, was that 67 out of shape. He holds on, only loses 2 spots out of it, and that's better than losing your entire race because of it.
You take that. I'd rather lose the 3 spots than lose the entire race and be out of it the way Jared Torres is.
Bergeron off the pace. He went around.
Yep, further back. I wonder what happened to Alex Bergeron. Didn't see it. Oh, he did actually properly go around on the entry to turn 1 contact, I believe, with
right here
Shane Williamson, that orange truck. Yeah, just got sideways and almost as if he was trying to cut down in front of him, or Williamson was trying to go 3 and Bergeron didn't realize they were going 3, but Bergeron's slow, so now he's another one that is waiting for a caution and off the end of this lead pack.
And looks like Bergeron really didn't move. More on Williamson there, just slightly coming up, maybe trying to give the guy on the inside a little bit more room to come up off the apron and get ready for the corner. Let's go down to pit road. Justin.
I had noticed during that that only caution that we've had so far, which I'm amazed that the Bergeron spin wasn't a caution there. That was right in the middle of traffic. But we did have, I'd say, 5 drivers that came in and topped off. It's really not going to move the goalpost too much on the strategy, but those guys like Ethan Lane, Jake Nichols, Brian Blackford, Timmy Pacioli, and Shane Williamson, those are the 5 drivers that came in, topped off on fuel. They might be trying to stretch it a little bit longer and hoping for a caution.
But certainly nowhere close to making it to the end from pitting to that caution. Thank you, Justin. And the highest amongst them right now, Ethan Lane, he's in the 19th position, and then Nichols and crew back 22nd on back through the field, as we are 25 laps, make it 26 laps complete here at Michigan. Joey Brown has led most of the way. Eddie Kerner, though, right in the tire tracks of that 14, just hasn't been able to find a way to get by.
But does he want to get by? That was a thought that started creeping into my head the last few laps. Yes, Joey Brown's had the lead, but if you're the first truck in a draft train, then you potentially end up in a position where you burn a little bit more fuel than everybody else. And so it makes me wonder if someone like Eddie Kerner, like Andrew Navarre, some of these drivers who have come up from middle in the pack to be towards the pointy end of this field are happy sitting in 2nd and 3rd to maybe save a lap of fuel, thinking that in the end it may make the difference. We'll just have to wait and see.
It's possible, especially with how much the draft has an impact here, as it's proven so far. Once you lose the draft, you're kind of all on your own. But Joey Brown not all on his own at the front of the field. He's got a good pack of guys just right up behind him, trying to get by or at least hang with the driver of the 14 for now. This time by 28 laps are complete here at the Michigan International Speedway for the eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series. And of course, almost like we scripted it, here comes Eddie Kerner for the lead. We'll hang with you for just a moment until they settle it here. We could not have That could not have worked any better if we had tried it, because now here comes Navarro to the inside looking for second, as Kerner is not quite clear for the lead, and now Navarro has to slide back up to the outside.
No, Navarro got checked up big time there, hanging behind Kerner, and it opened up the opportunity for Christopher Hill to head back down to the bottom. There goes Kerner to the inside to throw the block on Hill and keep him at bay, so Kerner should stay second, and Navarro may have the run on the high line to get back around Hill and reclaim the third spot.
And bring it back down to the stripe. Joseph Galata parked the truck. He is done for the night. He was on the lead lap, I believe. He's obviously not anymore. Now he'll go laps down as he's parked the truck. Looking at him where he's at in points. Yeah, well, Galata, he needs a lot of help. He is back in the 53rd position. A decent finish at Pocono, a less than desired finish at Mid-Ohio. Eddie Kerner peaking once again here on Joey Brown. Is he going to be able to get there? He'll stay alongside him. Coming off turn number 4, them being side by side will allow the rest of them to close in. It should be a good battle back to turn 1.
I guess if Galata needs a lot of help, Eddie Kerner does not need a lot of power. I have to dig you for that pun as we see the change for the race lead. And Kerner now goes to the front. Can he slide up ahead of Brown and complete this down the backstretch? There's the crossover and the slide up. So Kerner's got the position. Brown will not challenge. New leader, Eddie Kerner, and the Neon is a machine.
Eddie Kerner now taking the lead. 30 laps complete, 31 when they get to the start-finish line this time. We'll step aside for real this time. When we come back, green flag pit stops here from the Michigan International Speedway in the eNASCAR qualifying series. We're back here from the Michigan International Speedway for the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. Round number 2. It's race number 3. Joey Brown has led the most laps so far, but he's in a free fall through the field right now. He is in 6th for the moment, but he is just plummeting through this field on the inside line.
On the inside line, I think is the key to all of that. If there's something that I've noticed, it's that everybody with pace and everybody that's in this drive train, for the most part, is running the high line and running off the apron in the corners. They're trying to keep the momentum wound up, the RPMs wound up on these machines, and they're not exactly dropping all the way to the inside, save for your leader, Eddie Kerner. Everybody else is sort of in that second groove. Brown got out of it, and he got trapped underneath people, and he started to slide back. I think the fact that he's not in the preferred draft lane is probably, in large part, the reason why.
And Kerner's got company at the front of the field. Andrew Navarro in that 42 machine was all over the tailgate of the Kerner machine. And, well, he's going to try it again. He's got a good run with Buttafuoco right behind as well. He's had a great charge up through the grid. He started back in 12th. Navarro started in 13th. They're now up into the top three.
Also of note, Jordy Lopez Jr. just a bit back, started in 15th. He's up to 6th with his buddy Ryan Doucette. And Wyatt Tinsley, first time we've had the chance to call his name tonight, up to 9th after starting 17th. Johnny Avila, too. He's been around some of the action. Started 21st up to 13th. And Blake Bottom started 23rd up to 15th. So we're starting to see some of these drivers figure this out. And again, just sort of climb position by position. You don't do it immediately, but pit stops for Dalton Collins, Christopher Hill, and some of the race leaders. This, I think, is the beginning of the pit window. Jacob Hitz.
So far, no issues trying to get onto pit road. Justin.
We've got a handful of drivers, 5 drivers down pit road, including the pole sitter. Christopher M. Hill is down. Dalton Collins, Joey Brown, who was free falling, Thomas Keene, and Michael Cozy Jr. They're all coming in to take their service. And we got to slide through the pit. The 95, that is Dalton Collins, slid through his pit. That is going to cost him a ton of time. Everybody else looks to have gotten in their pit safely. Brown is taking 4 tires. Hill is taking 4 tires. Down and away. Keene, Cozy, they're down and away as well.
Look at this right here at pit entry. Collins, heartbreak for him. He was inside the top 10, but it is a full field now on pit road. They're 3 wide, Justin.
Man, everybody else decided they wanted to come this time. Monkey see, monkey do. The leader, Kerner's in. We've got Buttafuoco in his pit. We've got at least 15 trucks down pit road. It's going to be the same thing. There's no strategy here. If you aren't taking 4 tires, you aren't winning this race. You're not going to be able to get through. Everybody's down here. Left sides are going up. Then they're going full of fuel, down and away. Everybody looks a little bit cleaner than the first stop, though.
So far, so good as far as pit road penalties. None across the board. I know we looked at Ryan Doucette. Looked like he may have come in a little hot, but no black flags. The remaining 3 drivers just on pit road now. Joel Blewett, Nathan Jurgensen, and Ethan Lane. When things cycle around, well, here's the pass for the lead down the back straightaway. Side by side, Hill and Brown. They blow by Kerner. So Christopher Hill back out in front as the rest of the field trying to get up to speed.
I actually really like the idea of the undercut because I don't think it's going to matter all that much. I think the track position is going to matter more. Tire wear, I don't think is going to be as much of a concern. And I think Chris Hill and Joey Brown look really, really sharp right now. That's not to say that Eddie Kerner, Jordy Lopez, any of the drivers that came in that last time by can't pass them again. But if you needed maybe that extra second or so, if you needed the opportunity to gain the track position, this is a good place to make it work because you don't necessarily give up as much for coming in early as you would at some of the other racetracks we visit. So nice work from Hill and Brown in particular to leapfrog everyone and go back to first and second.
Surprising decision for the Michael Cozy Jr. camp at Altus Esports. He has slid back through the field. Remember, he was involved in the first caution flag that got, where is he? Oh, rats, I'll find him. Jared Torres, that got Torres out of shape and turned him around. He had damage, Cozy did, on the nose of that car, of that 99, because of the contact. He obviously no fast repair for these guys to take when they come onto pit road. He did not really stay in the box all that long. 15.4. I find it hard to believe that he only had a second of damage to the front end of that 99. If he's got all the damage fixed, great. If not, he is just going to keep falling back through this field right now because he is all alone on the bottom. He does not have the speed that these guys do. Meanwhile, battle for the lead. Here comes Joey Brown.
Joey Brown takes the lead, jumps ahead of Christopher Hill, brings Eddie Kerner with him. Also, let's just level about Michael Cozy's situation. He's going to have to sit behind other trucks for the rest of this race, just about. He doesn't have any speed on his own. He's got too much damage to be able to maintain the top speeds of some of these other trucks. But if he tucks in behind somebody, you can negate the effect of all that damage on the right front. So there is a path for Cozy to salvage something out of this, but he just has to race smart. He's been in this position before. Firecracker 400 champion, so it's not like he doesn't know how to race at big tracks and tracks that are restrictor plate-ish in nature. This isn't a true plate track, but it does race like one in a lot of ways, so he'll know what to do. He just has to go out and execute these final just shy of 30 laps or so.
Past the halfway point here at Michigan, Jordy Lopez Jr. sits in second in that outside line. Joey Brown, your leader. Now here comes Jordy to the inside looking for the lead. He's got a teammate in Ryan Doucette just behind him, back in the fourth spot on the outside of Eddie Kerner. 3 wide for the lead, but it's all going to be Jordy Lopez Jr. coming to the line. He's clear for the top spot.
Jordy Lopez Jr., who has something to prove, I think, as do a lot of the Logitech Altus esports drivers in this qualifying series, and what they will help will lead to a Contender Series campaign as well. It's about time we saw some teamwork really play into this, and here we are. It's Logitech Altus esports 1 and 2 with Lopez and then Doucette just behind him.
And I think this is part of what this team has been looking for now. Obviously, they had a ton of drivers make it out of round 2 last season, wind up in Contender, and that was sort of it. They just fell to the background. You didn't hear from them much in Contender, in the B cars. I don't believe any of them made it out of Contender and into the Coke Series. This year they came back with a vengeance. They ran strong through the first round. They've got what seems like half the field, it seems like, in some races here in this second round, and they are looking very, very strong, minus a couple of missteps along the way for some drivers. It's looking pretty good for the Altus Esports camp right now. 1 and 2 here. They've got a truck leading in the other split as well. That's Tucker Minter. So promising things right now for the Altus group.
One of their better races in a season that's had a fair few of them, at least up to now, but this is a really impressive performance from Lopez and Doucette. They've been very tactical in the way that they have worked to the front. They didn't necessarily want to control this from the front for the whole race, but they decided to wait and make their move here with about, call it, what, 25 laps to go or so, or how about 25 right on the nose? So they've chosen to arrive at the front. Now, the question is, with the track position, how do you manage these lanes? How do you lead these trains through Michigan International Speedway? And how do you hang tight and maintain this track position?
Just have to wait and find out. 24 laps to go here from Michigan. Christopher Pfeffer parked the truck. He is done for the night. Remember, he was involved in some contact during this green flag run toward the start of it, as things have calmed down kinda for the moment up here at the front. Eddie Kerner all alone on the bottom of the racetrack. Everybody else glued to that outside line and just staying single file in this top 11 or so. Johnny Avila at the tail end of this field. A great run for that 28. Started back in the 21st spot. He's up 10.
I think it says a lot that when you look at the top 10 drivers or so, you've got 4 of them that started outside of top 10, and then Avila, who right there on the edge, started back in 20th. Conversely, there are some folks who've not had a good day. Dalton Collins has dropped like a stone through this field, currently runs 21st after starting in the 4th position. Nathan Jurgensen started in 60-17. Daniel Smallwood's dropped from 9th to 13th, and Timmy Holmes from 7th to 10th. So not too bad for Smallwood or Holmes, but Jurgensen and Collins in particular are going to look at this and wonder what might have been, I think, unless we get a yellow flag towards the end of this to bunch this field up and make things crazy.
Well, and we know what kicked Dalton Collins back there, overshooting his pit box by a stall on pit road during the green flag pit cycle. That's what cost him a ton of track time, a ton of track position. He is back in the 20th position. Quickly looking at the point situation, Pfeffer, this is horrible news for him. He was 5th in points, 9th without the drop, so he's going to plummet through the order. Looking at a guy like Michael Cozy Jr., he's in 24th right now. He is 16th in points, 10th without the drop. It's funny how that works, where if you take away the drop, sometimes you gain spots, other times you lose spots. All kind of depends on where you finish. But for Dalton Collins right now, he is not in a position inside the top 20, in fact 58th in points. Some not good finishes from these first two races, and right now he's going to need a lot of help to get him out of the rut that he is in as far as points are concerned.
Meanwhile, casual 3 wide for the race lead down the back stretch. Here's that teamwork in play. There goes Lopez up high to pretty much stand on the, drag, I guess. Drag the brakes would be the more appropriate way to put it, but just completely block the run of Andrew Navarro, who had momentum on corner exit there. Definitely would have been able to get alongside Doucette, who might look a little bit loose actually underneath things. Navarro, I think, may actually get this pass done, and he might split up the Logitech G-Altus Esports trucks, and that could make the run at the front very interesting. Also worth noting, as Kerner looks to the inside of Doucette, will indeed make it 3 wide for that 3rd position. And Doucette's going to slide back a bit. If you look at these packs, Daniel Smallwood is there, and Joel Blewett now is caught up to the back of them. That purple and teal Aqua truck at the very top of the screen coming out of 4. He's the back end of this lead pack. And then you've got about 2 seconds to Jurgensen, Lane, Wenzel, Keene, Collins, Nichols, Blackford, basically everybody else left in this field. So it's your top 14 and then everybody else.
Kind of the way things are looking right now is this package. Oh, there goes Jordy Lopez Jr. That's your race leader. Caution flag is out. Trouble for Jordy Lopez Jr., the race leader. Bump drafting gone wrong with Navarro. And the second caution flag of the day. Big implications for the Altus Esports crew and Jordy Lopez Jr.
Everyone from Nathan Jurgensen on back immediately celebrating, because that's the lifeline that they need. And what did I say at the beginning of this about how this was either going to go green or we were going to get a late yellow, and it's going to change things up and make this pretty wild towards the end? We're clearly about to fall into Camp B. I think the most surprising thing is that we've seen wrecks in the racing groove that quite frankly have been bigger than this one from Jordy Lopez that didn't get called for a yellow. So I'm a little surprised that this one does get the yellow flag and some of the others didn't. But here we are, inside of 20 laps to go. Just nothing besides a bad bump draft. I don't think Lopez is going to be all that mad about it. I don't think Navarro particularly is going to feel bad about it either. Just a sort of weird racing deal there. And if anything, maybe it's better that you learn it. The problem for Lopez, though, is that now you're split up from your teammate who's still up there. But you can't work together the same way that you did, and it may be on Lopez to now try and drag Michael Cozy Jr. up towards the front if he can, given all the damage that Cozy has to the right front.
Well, and that might not be the only teammate as well. He could pull James Wenzel with him, another G-Altus Esport truck, pit road, Justin. Very busy place, as we would have predicted with the late race caution.
Everybody's coming down, but it's going to be interesting to see if anybody's going to opt for maybe some type of strategy call. This is what I was hoping for, something to split up the monotony of what we were possibly looking at for this race. Everybody's in their stall here. I see the right sides going up. That's a given. Everybody can make it from fuel on here. Is anybody going to gamble, though, and take left side tires? I see some of the leaders. Left sides are up. It looks like everybody took 4 tires. Here we go. Everybody's exiting the pits.
Nobody takes 2 tires. Everybody takes 4. Michael Cozy Jr. and Boyd Hogan still remain in their pit boxes. They're both working on damage on their trucks, which answers the question that I had about Cozy's pit stop under green. They chose not to fix the damage on that 99 until now. This may put him back in business as long as that mostly mostly fix the truck, if not completely fixed the truck, and he'll be right next to his teammate, Jordi Lopez Jr. He'll restart 25th.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's completely fixed. There definitely still is some damage to the right front of Michael Cozy Jr.'s Logitech G Alta C Sports machine, but it's a much, much better situation than he found himself in some 15, 20 laps ago. It's the best situation I think he's found himself in since the beginning of the race. And you have to keep in mind that there may be some incidents that happen ahead of Cozy. There may be some opportunities to gain some positions that had this race gone green to the rest of the way, he might not have had the chance to get. So this is very much a blessing. The question will be, to what degree is it a blessing for Michael Cozy, and how does this yellow change the final 15 laps of this race for him?
Just have to wait and find out. We are one lap away from getting back under green. We saw Ryan Doucette. He started to slip through a little bit, maybe burned his tires up a little too much on that green flag run, but it seemed like the grip and the speed had dropped away from that 77 a little bit as the laps continue to wind down.
Perhaps he did look a little bit looser in the back half of that run, but doesn't matter now. Everybody is going to be on fresh tires in some way, shape, or form. Everybody's on 4 Goodyear Eagles, so this is about how well you manage these final 15 laps. I would say it could be about how hard you drive these 15 laps, but I think it's going to be more about managing this and making sure that you don't go 110% unless you absolutely must. So often in situations like this, it's when drivers go above their own limits that they end up getting into trouble, getting themselves turned, and ending up with a much, much smaller points haul than they would have had otherwise had they managed to keep a lid on it and just sort of temper their expectations and their drives.
And some great parity. The other split, they are now under caution and a lap to green. They're getting a restart with 10 laps to go. But right here is where it matters right now here on FTF.GG. 15 laps to go here from Michigan. It's Andrew Navarro and Ryan Doucette on the front row. Green flag. Let's get after it.
Navarro took off. He got a great restart. He'll clear everybody about by 3 or 4 truck lengths. Doucette drops to second. He'll go to the inside. It's Petafuco and Kerner who will be racing for position. That's third spot. They're door-to-door through the middle of 1 and 2. Then Joey Brown and Wyatt Tinsley. Brown to the inside, Tinsley to the outside as they all come back up to speed down the backstretch.
Like the initial start, most drivers glued to the inside line, and here comes that 77 of Ryan Doucette. He's got a heck of a run down on the bottom. Joey Brown is with him. That 77 slides a little bit on the inside of the racetrack, trying to get out in front of that 42 of Andrew Navarro. They're going to be door handle to door handle as they're crashing in the back. Brian Blackford's around. Christopher Hill is around up in front of him. 2 crashes for the price is 1. Tim Pacioli runs through pit road and mows a ton of the grass on the front straightaway. Trouble first for Blackford. He got turned at the very back of the field. Logitech G Altus trucks did not make it through. Jordi Lopez Jr. with some contact, and then in front of them, as the caution came out, Christopher Hill got turned by Blaze Crawford.
I would almost say this starts with Joel Blewett getting loose in the middle of 3 and 4. It sort of started a chain reaction where Ethan Lane went on top, and then there were some folks that checked up behind Blewett, and I think that might be where the contact came, at least in part, with Blackford. He got some help from Carter Horn. Not the first time that Horn has been away from incident this evening. There was contact a little bit earlier, I believe, with Gulata that he was involved with as well. And yeah, now this is the bad luck for Jordi Lopez, and now he will be a little bit mad because he was leading 5 laps ago, and now he's got almost the same damage that Michael Cozy Jr. had early on in this race.
So we're back under caution here from Michigan. Another angle, and I think you might be right. That truck loose on the high side, jumbling everybody up, was just enough where all it takes is one driver not to lift, and it's calamity. There you see the contact with Jordi Lopez Jr. on the right front, and there is Pacioli just mowing the grass and running over victory circle. He gets back up to speed, and he doesn't have many or any issues. But looking at the guys coming onto pit road, Blackford is 1, Pacioli is 1, Boyd Hogan back on pit road, Jordi Lopez Jr. is on pit road to try and fix the damage to the right front of that race truck.
And now it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll for Jordi Lopez. That's the tricky thing here. All that damage, now you're basically in the same boat as your teammate Michael Cozy, where you're not going to have the same clean speed and single truck speed that everybody else does. You might not necessarily be able to pull out from underneath someone and get to their inside and make a move. You may be at the mercy of wherever the draft train goes. You almost just sort of have to follow in line and then see what happens from there.
So we're back under caution. We should get a restart with 11 laps to go. And we'll take a look at what's upcoming here on FTF.GG. There's a good amount on the way. The Barville FTF Cup Series, it is not on Saturday night. Instead, we're live on Sunday night, 8 o'clock Eastern, right here from Michigan. Myself and Caleb Hoffman will be here with you for that. Then on Wednesday, over on the ERL Racing Twitch, ERL from Road Atlanta and the Pro 2 trucks, the Shortcut Circus will be live with you on Wednesday, August 10th at 7:30. SimCar makes its debut here on FTF.GG a week from tonight, 8:30 Eastern Time. The LMP2s and GT3s from the Daytona International Speedway Road Course. And we are back in 2 weeks' time on Thursday, August 18th at 9 o'clock Eastern from Lucas Oil Raceway, Indianapolis Raceway Park. And should be a lot of fun in 2 weeks' time when we get to go road course racing. The Barville FTF Cup Series race, the theme this weekend is rep your college on your race car. And Justin Malillo writes in that he's very excited to represent his school on the hood of his race car. Justin?
Well, the joke about it is that my college got rid of the football program in my sophomore year, so can't wait.
What were they thinking?
Hey, my college has never had a football program, so at least you had a football program once upon a time, and you have football.
Oh,
tell us how it.
Really? Belmont? Really?
No. Fun fact that apparently the Panthers approached Belmont Abbey to build what would become the training camp facilities at Wofford College and Spartanburg, but the Abbey said no.
Huh. Well, our preseason polls just came out. We're fourth in the division out of, I think, 8. So that's higher than I kind of anticipated we were going just because we lost a lot of guys. But looking good. Season starts a month from yesterday. I can't wait to be back at it out on the gridiron, calling it. Yes, green flag, here we go, 11 laps to go from Michigan. They're already 4 wide here on the front straightaway. Make it 5 wide, headed to turn number 1. Do I hear 6 wide? I'm not sure they're gonna make it through 5 wide. The car in the middle, the truck in the middle is Avila. He is hanging on for dear life. They made it work, and Ethan Lane jumped up to the outside, and well, that didn't work out for him. He falls right back to where he started. The field's down the backstretch.
I couldn't tell whether or not they missed a shift or whether or not they were antsy to go way in the back of the field, but one of the two was definitely true. They are 3 wide for the 3rd position. Doucette now in control of this. Brown got tight in the middle of the corner, almost bounced into Eddie Kerner, who slides up the racetrack, and now Andrew Navarro will have the run, but he won't have help as Kerner almost got turned in front of everybody and then loses it in front of everyone and will spin to the inside and just clip the wall at the exit of pit road. But we stay green flag racing. That's a horrible turn of luck for Eddie Kerner, but it changes the way this should play out at the front of this field. Jacob Hitz.
Surprised there was no caution for that spin after what we saw from Jordi Lopez Jr.'s spin. Here they come down the back straightaway now with 9.5 laps to go. Joey Brown on the outside. You've got Ryan Doucette on the inside. Here comes Navarro up the middle for the lead. Don't forget about that 20. That's Wyatt Tinsley. We haven't talked about him much at all tonight. He is now here in the picture. He had a strong run in round 1, was looking forward to round 2. He got the win at Dover, and here he is now trying to make his mark in round number 2 of the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series.
Tinsley's got that inside lane. Andrew Navarro may quietly have the strongest truck in this field, though. He's been able to make the inside work. He's been able to make the outside work. He's tucked in behind Ryan Doucette now as they continue to charge down the back straight. Meanwhile, Blaze Crawford looking to the inside of Joey Brown, whose truck seems to be fading just a bit. He's also got some front-end damage that I've just now noticed, so Brown might not have the best truck on his own. It's Navarro, though, in control of this, just ahead of Doucette coming back to the stripe.
That front end damage may be what kills Joey Brown's shot to go to victory lane. May not kill a good finish as long as he can stay tucked up behind Doucette. Trouble in the back. One truck gets turned to the inside. Connor Horn, he slides up to the outside wall. Everybody gets by. The third incident Connor Horn has been involved in tonight, and it's contact, it looks like, with Nathan Jurgensen and the 67 of Connor Horn that brings out another caution flag number 4.
I would say that's probably third time the charm there for Connor Horn. He's been near 2 incidents tonight. This is the third one that he's been around, and this time the luck went against him as Jurgensen. Really tough to tell. It looks like they were just trying to race for the right lanes there and race for the same sort of real estate. And Horn just sort of gets turned. We'll see in the replay here. You look a little bit further back. Here's a look at what happened to Eddie Kerner, who just about saved it in front of everyone and then lost it, and now has damage to, guess where? The right front of his truck, where everybody else seems to have damage on their vehicles tonight. And then we'll get a look at the incident with Connor Horn here and see what happened as they just sort of come together on corner entry. Yeah, slightest of contact from Jurgensen, but Horn goes around up into the fence ever so slightly, and now he'll have to deal with damage to his left front for the final, call it 6-ish laps or so.
Well, here's the onboard. This is with Botafuco, I believe. Yep. And he is lucky that his race didn't get turned upside down, even though he's kind of been relegated to the back. But he's kept it going straight. I'm still surprised that the Kerner spin did not bring out the caution flag, but not a lot of damage to the front end of that 98, I don't think. He didn't hit the wall, it seemed, too hard. He was pretty slowed down by the time he got to the end of pit road, but it still looks like he's going to make the call to come on to pit road, as well as a lot of these guys in the back of the field here, Justin.
Yeah, these guys are just trying to use up their last set of tires, though. I don't think any single one of these guys is going to have really any outside shot with as many laps as we got left. There's really no strategy to pit here, but, you know, they got to try and do whatever they can for it here. Everybody who stayed out, the top 20 have stayed out there. Yeah, track position's really all about all that you can do here tonight with the way that these trucks are racing. But, I mean, if you got them, use them, I guess.
That may be the call, but it's so hard to pass even with the draft. We're going to have limited time left. Looks like we'll get a restart with 4 laps to go here, Justin and James. It might work getting those fresher tires, but at the same time, it's going to be so tough to cut through the field unless more shenanigans unfold and we wind up going into eNASCAR overtime.
I think it's tough just based on the fact that you're going to be 22nd in James Wenzel's case. I think he might have the cleanest truck out of anyone back there who just came down. Boyd Hogan's got a clean truck too. So on the surface, coming from 22nd or 21st is difficult. But if there's a place where you might be able to do it, this track, maybe more so than any of the others, might be the one where you can pull something like that off, because if you need to, you can just rip the high lane and get around everybody because you'll have fresher tires, or maybe hook the bottom and go inside and you'll be able to carry corner exit better because you won't have to lift. So if there's a place where you're going to try something like this, Michigan might be the spot where you could do it, because you've got longer laps and you've got more room, and that could make a big difference. Even if they don't win, you may end up with a lot more points than you would have otherwise, and that could end up making a difference in the end when we get to September and we ramp up our series and we're trying to tally who's got the most points once we get done with Texas.
A wild finish at the end of the other split. They have finished. Tucker Minter leading at the white flag. It's Jackson Crowder going to victory lane in the 54 and winning the other split race. Looking at the points coming in, Crowder, well, where was he? Give me a second. He was 61st in points. He's had 2 rough races at Mid-Ohio and Pocono. So with that win, he breaks through right now, unofficially, without any data from this race. It puts him on the cut line. That'll shift, that'll change, but that gets Crowder much closer to the end of the tunnel than where he was coming into the night.
Definitely a big boost for him. We'll see, though, who gets the boost from our race here on FTFGG, where Ryan Doucette has control of this and no teammates, but the track position as the pace car comes off and we get sent to restart with 4 laps to go.
Here we go. 4 laps to settle it from Michigan. Green flag. Who is that? Jumping way out of line. Passing 6, 7, 8 rows of trucks on the outside. It's the 12 of Alex Bergeron. And Bergeron goes from deep in the field to the lead. And now he has to drop all the way back. He does not have a black flag. He's just trying to hold on as much as he can and take any advantage he can. He slides his way into line. 3rd on the outside.
Joey Brown tried to go, and Ryan Doucette was waiting to try and go on his own, and he got all kinds of jacked up on the rear end of his truck, did Doucette, and it allowed Andrew Navarro to come from the high line and make the pass, and now Blaze Crawford may be trying to do the same here. Coming to 3 laps to go, it's Navarro and Crawford for that front spot.
They have to make it to the white flag in order for this race to be official. Otherwise, they're going to wreck into the outside wall. Christopher Hill, Jordy Lopez Jr. involved. Eddie Kerner's around off the bumper of Daniel Botafuco. Caution's out. We're going to eNASCAR overtime. I lie. It's not Jordy Lopez Jr. Different number. It's a blue number, though. It's James Wenzel that's collected in this crash. And we are indeed going to eNASCAR overtime here from Michigan.
Apologies, James Wenzel, for the commentator's curse. I did say, maybe 3 laps ago, he had one of the cleanest trucks of the drivers that had just come down pit road, and lo and behold, what happens? But he gets caught up in a wreck. As we'll go back and look at the replay, I think this is somewhere between Shane Williamson and Michael Cozy Jr. that gets this going, and I think Nathan Jurgensen got a little bit loose. I couldn't tell. I think maybe they stacked up behind perhaps Ethan Lane, or maybe Jake Nichols, somewhere in that ballpark. Yeah,
I think it was Lane. It's a black truck. He comes down, chops the nose. He wasn't clear, and then it's on.
Which,
look at Cozy.
You're moving so fast at Michigan here that there's just nothing you can do once someone gets sideways like that. It's going to be 3-4 vehicles almost instantaneously. Yeah, there's the bump, and you can see it, and all of a sudden, just down to the inside, he manages to maybe clip the grass there a little bit, but that could have been much worse for him. Much worse for him. And we will now enter our first attempt at eNASCAR overtime of the 3 that we have available.
He has so much experience missing wrecks, whether it's Rod Car, whether it's Moon Car. It just the instinct that he has to try and put his car in the right place when they're wrecking around him. It's unbelievable what he is able to get away with when they wreck around him. And sure enough, he's able to hang on to the race truck right there and keep himself alive. He is 18th right now on the racetrack. The field catching up to the pace car. Pit road is open this time by. We'll see if we have any takers. More than likely, those in the back that have some damage might decide to make the call. In fact, Michael Cozy Jr. will be one of those. He's the first one to come onto pit road to give up a little bit of track position, but he'll have some others that will join him in the back. And Blaze Crawford is now your race leader here, heading into our first eNASCAR overtime.
Justin Millennial, I want to come to you because we haven't had the chance to chat with you much over the course of these last few restarts. So from your perspective down on pit road, what have you seen? What have you noticed? What stands out to you that the two of us might not have touched on yet?
Nah, it's just, you guys have been hitting every point. It's crazy that we've had some of these cautions not actually be cautions, especially that Eddie Kerner spin that we had earlier tonight. These guys are just so aggressive right now. They know that they could possibly gain so much. That restart by Bergeron, I don't know if it was like legal in the sense of like iRacing sporting code, but he played it absolutely perfectly, and he's in the top 5 right now. I've never seen anything work that perfectly before, especially in a top level event like this. That was pretty incredible. But we'll see if anybody's going to try that maneuver. I've already heard some people talking over the radio that they might be looking to talk to iRacing about that one. But as it stands, he didn't get a black flag, and he's sitting pretty right now.
Here it is. You're going to see, there he goes. And now, this is interesting to explain. So you get a black flag when you pass on a restart, but that's when you pass on the inside. When you pass on the outside. It is legal, and that's what Bergeron was able to do. I think he slowed down so that way he could make the corner right on board. And, I mean, there you hear, he's on the gas, and he goes all the way. He gets to Navarro, and I think he thinks, all right, maybe I should back off a little bit. So he slots in line with these guys. Plus, he's way up there, and he knew they weren't going to let him in to make the corner, and he finds a slot in line right behind Wyatt Tinsley. A bold move, a bold strategy. Cotton, we'll see if it pays off for the driver of the 12, but I'm sure Alex Bergeron is grinning ear to ear right now with what he did on that last restart, and I wonder if anybody's taking notes for this one.
That, and then if you're Blaze Crawford, you might have seen it down at the bottom of the replay, but my eyes initially went to Joey Brown and Ryan Doucette coming together. And if you Blaze Crawford, knowing that Doucette got a huge shove from Brown before he was ready to go, are you inclined to maybe go at the front end of this restart box so that no one gets into your rear bumper and doesn't mess your restart up?
Now, remember, the iRacing has put in the restart zones. They are not active for the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. So that is not something that you can get black flagged for jumping the start, technically speaking. Here we go, green flag, big stack up at the front, a little bit of fanning out behind. Looks like everybody is good for now. If we make the white flag, this race is official. If we crash before the white flag, we'll do this song and dance all over again. Crawford leads the field to 1.
Crawford with a good run. Will Navarro get the help from Alex Bergeron, who's running as high as he has in this field all night long? That restart jump put him up to the 4th spot from 25th on the grid, and now he's pushing Andrew Navarro up to the front. Will they get clear of Blaze Crawford before they get to the corner? Not quite. It's to the door number. Crawford still got his nose underneath Navarro, but Navarro should have the run to get the lead coming to the white flag.
Navarro on the outside, Crawford on the inside, trying to side draft, not quite as strong in these trucks. White flag in the wind, 1 more lap to go from Michigan. Navarro with the push from Bergeron. He's clear down low. Now Bergeron leads the outside line with Wyatt Tinsley.
Bergeron sent Andrew Navarro down to the bottom and made sure that he got down there as they're going to wreck deep in the field behind him. Navarro's going to go to the inside to try and throw the block on Blaze Crawford, but will Alex Bergeron come to spoil the party from the top line? Here comes Crawford to try and push Navarro. Bergeron might give up the room there for Wyatt Tinsley. He'll have one shot to try and run this big up off of turn 4 as Navarro leads them to the strike.
Big wreck behind him, coming to the flag. Ryan Doucette around big time, pulling out to the line. Bergeron for second, but it's Andrew Navarro winning at Michigan in a wild finish. Half the pack is littered all over this 2-mile racetrack. Joey Brown is in reverse, coming down to the checkered flag, smoking, spitting that truck to the finish line. Christopher Hill passes him for a spot just shy of the start-finish line. Most of the Logitech Altus Esports trucks, if not all of them, did not make it to the flag after all of the carnage that happened on that last lap. And James, we've got a lot to sort through.
We do have about 2 or 3 replays to put together and try and go back and watch to see what happened in the last lap. But I have to give it cap tip to Scott Martin, the main partner for Andrew Navarro in tonight's race. Scott Martin, the Yooper from Michigan's Upper Peninsula, for Navarro to get the win at his home track. I know that's got to mean something to Scott, and I imagine he'll be a very, very happy man watching his truck in victory lane.
Take a look. Wow, what a finish. How about Navarro? And he, even still, talking about this finish, after the race, all he does is apologize for the contact with Jordy Lopez Jr. that brought us into this scenario, that put us under the caution flag, and cautions breed cautions. You saw Jordy there for a moment and drive by here, and Navarro just apologizing profusely for that contact, saying that I did not try to do that. And hopefully we get a chance to talk with him post-race so you can hear his words exactly. Here's what happened. That's Eddie Kerner getting into the back of Jurgensen, causing this battle. Jordy Lopez Jr. nowhere to go. He powers his way into that crash.
Yeah, there's so much there to break down. Here's I think this is what, the third incident right at the end with Joey Brown and Ryan Doucette and one other truck. Can't quite tell who that is, but I'm trying to just recap all this mentally in my head. You had the one wreck out back over in turn 2. Then you had this incident over in turn 3. And it shook up the standings significantly for a lot of these folks. And remember, these are drivers who had been near the front for most of this race. Joey Brown, Ryan Doucette had top 5 trucks pretty much all night. It's a big points hit. If you're Brown, you're maybe not as worried because you do have the win at Mid-Ohio to fall back on if push comes to shove. But obviously not ideal to be in. You'll take this as your drop if you have to, but you like the insurance when you can get it.
Go to our results here from Michigan. Andrew Navarro, your winner. Alex Bergeron sits in second. Obviously, some drama around his second place finish. As far as we know, he finished second place tonight. If anything comes of it, we'll know in due time. Blaze Crawford rounds out our top 3. Wyatt Tinsley finishes 4th. Daniel Smallwood finishes in the 5th spot. Dalton Collins, a great rebound. Remember, he overshot his pit box by a full box under green flag stops. He rebounds to finish in 6th. Johnny Avila, a great run for him, 21st to 7th tonight. Timmy Holmes finishes in 8th. Joel blew it. He didn't blow it tonight. He finishes 9th. Thomas Keene, a great run as well, from 24th to 10th.
Here's your wildest stat of the night. You know where Michael Cozy Jr. started? 11th. You know where he finishes tonight? 11th. So you could look at his night about a million ways, but I think after the way that panned out, he'll take that. Same for Connor Horn as well, who got caught up in that incident late. He'll take 12th. Shane Williamson starts in 31st and gets to 13th. Brian Blackford got spun around late and rebounds to finish 14th. Daniel Nanny was 22nd. Didn't really factor much at the front all night, but comes home 15th. Boyd Hogan finishes in the 16th spot. Jake Nichols, I know, was frustrated at the end of that. He comes home 17th. 18th was Ethan Lane. And then you think about what could have been for Eddie Kerner and Ryan Doucette, who finished 19th and 20th, respectively.
The rest of the grid looks like this. Christopher Hill, he was involved in that crash on the last lap. So was Joey Brown. They finished 21st and 22nd. They had some great runs tonight. Nathan Jurgensen finishes 23rd. Timmy Pacioli finishes 24th. They had some hard crashes on the last lap as well. Blake Bottoms, 25th, 1 lap down, involved in that, as well as Jordy Lopez Jr. Heartbreak for him, finishing in 26th. Danner Botafuco had a strong truck early. He finishes 3 laps down in 27th. James Wenzel finishes 4 down in 28th. Christopher Pfeffer out of the race in 29th. Joseph Galata 30th. And the final 2 drivers in the field. Jared Torres crashed on lap 2. Omar Diallo did not start and finishes in 32nd tonight. Let's bring up Andrew Navarro, your race winner from Michigan. And Andrew, we have to begin with the contact with Jordy Lopez Jr. on the back straightaway. Just take us through what you told pretty much the entire field after that and even now.
Yeah, I wanted to start this interview off by apologizing to Jordy. He should have been. I think our cars were so evenly matched. It was going to be a fun race to the end. I came off the corner. I was running the top line. They were 3 wide behind us, so I thought, I can probably push him away and we can just be a one-on-one for the finish. And coming off the corner, I hit him, and I felt like I was already straight and I was perfectly square to him, and it turned him. I'm really confused on it because I had pushed him in prior C Opens. I had pushed his teammates also. I mean, I pushed Ryan in this race when we had after pit stops. So I don't know if it was netcode or not. I didn't get a 0x, but that's no excuse, and I take complete fault for that. That was my fault.
After the contact, though, a lot of restarts, a lot of games being played by drivers with the draft. You were able to stay out in front and be there at the very end.
Yeah, my car was very slow down the straightaway, so I was a little scared. On the green white checkers, I felt like the outside was really good. I got a heck of a push from Bergeron, and then Blaze came in clutch. So shout out Blaze. That was a really fun race.
How about your sponsor, Martin Sports? It's not often that the home sponsor gets the win at their home track, and you were able to bring Martin Sports home to win at home for them.
Yeah, it's really big. His birthday, Scott Martin's birthday, is actually, I believe, in 2 or 3 days. So that's another reason why we ran the paint. And I mean, it was a beautiful looking paint scheme. It's their signature plaid that they have. That's in the black. It's the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So yeah, really excited to get the win with this truck.
Well, congratulations on the win, Andrew. Perhaps a little insurance moving on. IRP coming up in 2 weeks' time. Best of luck to you at the short track, and we'll see you then.
Thank you.
Andrew Navarro, your race winner tonight from Michigan. Now, let's talk with Blaze Crawford, our third place finisher, with James Pike.
Blaze, this was a bit of a wild end of this once we got the caution on lap 53. And I think if I'm sitting in your position, it's not the win, but given how crazy it was at the front and given how it seemed like it was a bit of a revolving door with regards to the top 5 in the final 15 laps or so, is this a maybe better P3 than what you'd get at some of the other racetracks? Does it carry a little bit more weight?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Especially, with 20 to go when we got that caution, I was running 10th. And really, if it had gotten to rain, I don't think I would have finished any better than 8th, between 8th and like 15th. But yeah, I was just very lucky to just be in the right places at the right time for those restarts for the final 15, 20 laps. And I hate that I got into the back of Chris Hill and turned him just at a bad angle, but hate that for him. But I'm very happy, man. Didn't have a single top 5 in the first round, and back-to-back races I finished top 5 in round 2, so I'm very, very happy with that.
Does it feel like it says a lot about you and about the ESC Oval program that you come in, you skip in Ohio, but yeah, really, really solid stuff. 5th at Pocono, 3rd at Michigan. Does that give you higher expectations going into Indianapolis Raceway Park in 2 weeks?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, unfortunately I was out of town for that first race of the season. But yeah, I mean, I feel like we've really turned it up this second round. It definitely speaks volumes, put it second, almost got the pole, and during round 1, couldn't qualify within the top 15 if I was lucky. So I'm very thankful to have a great group around me at ESC and our corporate teammates at Lowline. Everyone's really stepped it up. Everyone's putting in effort, and putting in effort brings you results like this. So very thankful.
Has it impressed you how you've managed to improve over the course of the season? I almost get sort of tinges of a Donovan Strauss-esque rise where it feels like from the outside, this truck and this style of racing is coming to you more and more with each passing race. Does it feel like that from your perspective?
Oh, 100%. I'm actually on a former Donovan Strauss wheel. I'm great friends with him. Ran legend cars with him several times, work on his legend car in real life. He's been a great friend of mine for several years. I definitely feel like as this year has gone by, I've started to pick up more consistency, just being smoother and developing myself as a builder and a driver. I really think I've turned it up this year, and hopefully I can make the Pro Series this year. That would be really cool.
Well, we know what happened to Donovan Strauss last year. Only went out and qualified for the Coach Series of These. We'll see if Blaze Crawford ends up doing the same, Jacob.
It'll be fun to watch. Blaze Crawford, with where he's at now with the drop in points unofficially, he sits in 8th, so in pretty good positioning right there. Obviously, that's with the drop. Without the drop, since he missed Mid-Ohio, he finishes in 24th. As I mentioned, 5 guys did not make it tonight. Run through them quickly. Anthony Burrows, Trevor Perry did not make it. Rajah Caruth, Liam Sheen, and Matt Coker, the 5 guys that did not make it. Omar Diallo did not turn a lap. We'll see if he gets the points or not. If he does, good for him. If not, he's going to be pretty far back as well, all things considered. Some shuffling around the cut line, but it's almost too early to start looking at the cut line. But then again, we've got just 4 races to go after tonight, so there's not much time left.
It's almost easier to look at the back end, and you sort of get a sense of people who are sort of done with it. And I think the 5, most likely they probably just decided that this year's just not their year. And I think there are some analogies between this particular portion of the qualifying series and the NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts All-American Series, where there's sort of a legend that says that You don't necessarily pick the year that you go for the national title. The year picks you. We're seeing that, I think, in full bloom with Lane Riggs, who has just been unstoppable in real life at the national level. I feel like it sort of plays out the same way here too, where if you know it's just not going to be your year, you're going to go ahead and step down and say, you know what, let me just take a breather and regroup, and we'll come back next spring, try it next year. I get the sense for Liam Sheen, Raja, Trevor Perry, Anthony Burrows, maybe Diallo and Cucker, who knows, but that same sort of idea. So we're going to get a better sense of who goes out. But then again, remember, we had 70 enter. We have 20 that will exit in advance. We're going to have 50 people that end up coming home empty-handed. So, yeah, maybe we're supposed to know more who's not going to be there than we have a clear picture of who will be there at this stage. But that will only come clear as we get to IRP.
IRP coming up in 2 weeks' time. Our first time at a short track, really, since we were at Bristol back last season. Is that intensity, the desire that I got to finish well here so I can move on, is that going to start to show in 2 weeks' time when we go to the short track at IRP?
I think you'll see intensity, but I think it's because when I think of IRP, I think of the high lane being very, very quick. And I think of a lot of drivers struggling to find grip down low. Usually, if you've got a fast truck up there, you're going to see a lot of people running right up against the fence. And that makes it a really tough place to pass. Even though you've got 2 or 3 lanes on the racetrack, there just aren't that many that are quick like that top lane is. So I think everyone's going to be fighting for space amongst the wall, and the lack of real estate more than anything else, I think, will create the intensity, probably more so than the championship implications, which I think we'll properly see come into play once we get to Darlington.
We'll just have to wait and see. We're back in 2 weeks from Indianapolis Raceway Park, Lucas Oil Raceway, and we hope to have you join us once again. 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 2 weeks from tonight, August 18th, is when you can see us live again for the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series. We're back on Sunday with the Bar Visual FTF Cup Series here from Michigan. In the meantime, for Zach Johnson, our producer, Justin Malillo down on pit road, and James Pike with me, I'm Jacob Hitz. It's Andrew Navarro, your winner from Michigan. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Good night.